Welcome to Chat with Leaders. Our mission is to give resilient servant leaders a platform for sharing the inspiring things they're doing to lead themselves, their teams, and their communities they serve wisely. I'm today's host, Jeff Bond with Barry in Atlanta, Georgia, where we develop custom apps and cloud solutions. And today I am incredibly proud and honored to welcome the author of the book, Selling by Serving, Clancy Clark. And I have a copy of the book right here. And I love it's finding fulfillment in your career and selling more than you ever thought possible. And the fulfillment isn't always just tied to monetary gain. So I love the what we're getting into here. So welcome to the show, Clancy.
Thanks for having me, Jeff. My pleasure.
Yeah, well, it's great to have you. I've been looking forward to this since we've first discovered it. You're a friend of another guest on our show, Mark McKenzie, who you guys go back a long time, and I'm just honored to be talking to you. So I want to jump right into just understanding why. Why did you decide to write your book?
Well, about 2 years ago, I shared with my sister and her brother-in-law some ideas I had when we were out on the coast of Oregon. They're both business consultants, and that sort of planted the seed that I wanted to help sales professionals to be more fulfilled, not to sell more widgets directly, but to be more fulfilled. And out of that flows actually more sales than if we chase it directly. But I see so many sales individuals that are not fulfilled and burned out or in a rut or become overwhelmed as a new sales professional. So it all just sort of began at that. And then the idea and vision of a platform developed. And along with that, it seemed very natural to have the message available in a book as well. So, you know, rather than thinking this is the timing that I had in mind, I just feel like if I'm living my life on purpose, Jeff, that the timing is made clear to me. And so here it is.
I love that. Living your life on purpose. Everyone is seeking a purpose, but if you've always are on purpose and true to your values, and then you can take action very easily from that. And it sounds like you kind of spun everything up really quickly and everything went into motion. And you had talked to me last time about being on this lifelong journey of self-improvement for over 30 years. When was it that you kind of realized that was the intent of your journey, that self-improvement? And was there kind of a clear beginning or tipping point when you realized that?
Yeah, it was pretty much in my mid-20s, and I was just sort of drifting around through life and felt kind of like I was spinning my wheels and was not on purpose, and just kind of felt like I had more potential than what I was showing. So I began to explore different avenues for personal development, self-actualization, self-discovery, and fell in love with that growth path. And I've just been on it ever since. And I've brought it into my sales career as well.
That's great. And what kind of work were you doing at that time of your life in your 20s?
That time of my life, I was a sheep herder and a semi-professional turned professional sheepdog trainer.
That's
As
so
I described
interesting.
in the book. Yeah.
Yeah, and the relationship to your training and your animals and to where you're at today with pack animals in Southern Colorado, you relate a lot to those stories and what you've learned from those animals as well in your leadership and sales career and being of service. And it's very, very interesting. So, and I enjoyed reading it. I read it cover to cover in 24 hours or 48 hours. It was something very quick, which I don't normally do. Very interesting background. Who, as you've kind of gone through your career and you developed, I always feel like there's people in our lives that are instrumental in helping us really understand that we want to emulate, that become our mentors or people that we looked up to. So who is it that's kind of helped you to understand more your core values, your giftedness, and how you've been able to apply that to your purpose of selling by serving?
Boy, Jeff, there have been many, as you can imagine. But there is one that kind of stands out. And for me, that's Dr. Wayne Dyer, who was a big deal in the 1970s with his book, Your Erroneous Zones, Pulling Your Own Strings, The Sky's the Limit, some of those, the big time repeat guest on the Tonight Show and all the talk show circuit, and all about gaining control of your emotions. However, as he evolved in his life, his work began to be much more spiritual and self-discovery in nature, about getting in touch with your higher self and your purpose. And he really made what he described as a shift to how may I serve in this lifetime rather than getting what's in it for me. And I just love his later work of, such a soft-spoken and clearly peaceful man. And, he passed away a few years ago. However, his life, just the joy that he had out of his life and how every day was a miracle of his own making, and just being out there and being of service to others has affected me profoundly. I listened to his old stuff, which is hard to find now, but I listen to it over and over and over as reinforcement. So Dr. Wayne Dyer has been a huge mentor in this philosophy and these values that I try to live by.
Well, very thankful for Dr. Dyer and the impact that it's had on you, and how that's been cyclical for you to have that impact on others throughout your career and now through your book. So it's great to have those people of influence. I've always been in sales, professional services, and leadership. And so, talking to you and understanding your principles has been very interesting to me. What is it that you see some salespeople struggling with the most today within this kind of down economy? And how do you think they can overcome some of these challenges as the world recovers from this pandemic that we're now in 2020?
The thing that I think I see more than anything is individuals who use their circumstances to justify why it is they can't do what it is that they want to do. And part of that is legitimate because maybe somebody has been applying a sales method to each situation, which is repetition and which is nice as long as you can repeat it. However, when circumstances such as COVID make it where you can't repeat what you've been doing, some people become very lost. And so I think when times are good, it's important that we always push ourselves for growth and developing new tools that we might need in certain circumstances. But the bottom line for me, Jeff, is that, and I love the quote by James Allen, circumstances do not define a man, they reveal him. And so my explanation of that is today, somebody's getting hired for a new job. Somebody is gaining a new account. Somebody is getting an agreement on a sale. Somebody else is not getting hired. Somebody else is not getting a new account. Somebody else is not gaining an agreement on the sale. And what's the difference? And I believe it is not the opportunity that's out there, but the difference is in the resolve to make it happen, the adaptability, and the persistence to adapt to results that may not be as favorable as we want. I don't use the word failure because I think that's just a judgment. And just the resolve to make it happen. So a great entrepreneur, which happened to be my father, said to me one time, there is no the economy. There's only your economy. And I think that way I have an opportunity to do something about it. But if I play victim, right? Well, the COVID deal, I can't go see my customers. And so I don't know how to do the phone, and I don't know anything about LinkedIn or Zoom. And those are all great excuses if we want to use them. And there's no shortage of them. But that's what I tell people. Take accountability, figure it out, get creative, and be willing to do whatever it takes to be effective. And that sometimes is a lot of trial and error. But I really think the difference is in our attitude.
I love that. Yeah. Attitude. It reminds me of Zig Ziglar and his sales principles. He talked about the people that would go around that were the plums, the poor little old me's, or the woe is me, and making excuses, and really that accountability, that self-exploration, taking ownership of what you can control, and spend zero to no energy worrying about the things that you cannot control, which there's a lot of that now, and being creative in your sales process and adaptable. That makes a whole lot of sense to me. And I also wanted to unpack a phrase that you used in there of gaining agreement, that there's people that are gaining agreement and others that are not. I think you talked in your book about not using the word closing the sale necessarily, but gaining agreement. Can you tell me why that's kind of an important distinction?
Because a couple of reasons, Jeff. The first is that closing sounds as if we're wrapping something up, as in finished. And to me, in a great sales relationship, business relationship, I want to keep the relationship open, always open. Even if it's traditionally a one-time sale, you never know when a repeat sale or an upsell is going to come in back, or a referral. And so I like to keep what I call feeding the relationship. Just keep putting more and more into it at all the time and keep that door open. So closing just sounds too final to me. Like, well, I closed that one up, now on to the next one. And I think, so gaining agreement is much more of an alignment of a dual purpose. You and I are going to both reach our goals at the same time. We agree that this is a good decision for us. You agree that it's great for you to purchase from me. I agree that you are a good fit for what I have to offer and the respect that I want as a sales professional. So we gain the agreement. And that doesn't always mean gaining the agreement on a purchase. It could be gaining agreement to meet again, gain agreement that you'll read some information that I leave for you and we'll discuss it next time. Everything is gaining agreement. And that way we're building a solid foundation for what I call a mutually beneficial, sustainable business relationship, which to me should be the goal of all sales professionals.
Yeah, it seems like closing almost diminishes the value of everything you worked hard to earn, which is that relationship, and to be a steward of that relationship going forward, and to be accountable to the success of that relationship, because it is mutual. A relationship isn't one-sided. So I think that really is an important distinction, and great words of wisdom. Unfortunately, I think in sales, a lot of people kind of get lost in the transactional nature because they're tied to key performance indicators and metrics that their managers kind of hold them to, and you almost lose that sense of what's truly important in the sale. And to understand what you can control and take ownership of can make you wildly successful beyond the just functional aspects of how you sell, and why you do it is important. And you kind of talk about that in the book, right? I mean, you have a sales process in a way, or I think it's, you call it a process, and you should follow certain steps to make sure you get there. But then it's going beyond that, and you kind of have a two-part section in your book. And why do you think that was important to kind of outline in that pattern?
Well, I think yes, and I describe what I call the 7 steps of selling by serving, which are preparation, engagement, rapport, discovery, solution presentation, agreement, and objections. And that's just the way I kind of sales makes sense to me. I think every sales kind of goes through those steps, but I'm not really looking to replace any framework that anybody is comfortable with or has found successful for them. But what I'm saying is, within that framework, you can place the service to others as the highest priority. And only in that way can you be fulfilled, and you bring that fulfillment to everything you do. And what I call the beautiful irony is that more sales, more commissions, more awards, more trips, more recognition, more money flows into your life by doing it that way, rather than pursuing those things in an end unto themselves. And I see a big shift taking place in sales leaders and managers, the brilliant ones that are understanding that if their sales team is fulfilled and feels successful and bring that, they're going to build higher quality relationships, have more loyalty, and actually generate more sales. And I acknowledge at first it can be a kind of a leap of faith to say, yeah, I'm not going to worry about my quarterlies or my monthlies or all these metrics that we get judged by. But I'm going to let go of all that and just go help people and immerse myself. Now that has to be coupled with massive definitive action, talking to everybody, getting out there and being a presence in the marketplace. But I sincerely believe that if those two things are in place, it can't fail. It can't not work. And then the beautiful irony is, all of a sudden you've surpassed all these numbers and everybody's wondering how you did it. And my answer is, I can't tell you how I did it, because it's different for each unique individual. So it's just a whole fun, natural, very meaningful way to conduct business, rather than going out trying to hit the numbers.
And you believe that because you've lived it and you've experienced that, and you're a walking example of that, looking back on your career, and you're able to outline that very clearly in your book. So that kind of leads me to my final kind of, can you frame a call to action as it pertains to sales leaders that want to create a positive culture for their teams while driving that productivity and hitting their quarterlies and their goals? Especially during these challenging times, what would your call to action be for those in sales leadership right now that have a team that they're responsible for?
What I would say is, forget about the driving performance part and create a culture and facilitate an environment where your sales professionals feel good about what they're doing. They feel good about you as their example of how business is to be conducted in a fulfilling way. And I think that's more important than ever in the COVID environment. And I truly believe this, Jeff, that as we emerge from this, that consumers, customers, and our clients will demand more than ever with their purchasing decisions, empathy, compassion, and a true immersion in their needs. And I think the people that are out there focused on driving performance, catching up with their numbers since they've been shut down or whatever, are going to be turned away. And I think the ones who are truly connecting on the human level and can say to a prospect, what's your world been like during this? And how can I learn? And how can I be here to support you in what you're trying to recover from and pull out of? Those are the ones that are going to be long-term on the scene. I believe that.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. So beautifully said. Rewind, listen back to that a million times and own it in your sales career and your leadership career. Clancy, if people wanted to purchase a copy of your book or learn more about you, how would they get in touch?
Yeah, I think the best one-stop shop would be my website. That's www.clancyclark.cc. And there is a contact Clancy link there. There is a order the book link there. There's information about myself, more about my bio. And I love hearing from people, and I'm more than happy to receive emails and contacts of people. I love getting the feedback and always learning, never always the student, never the teacher.
I love it. It's a lifelong journey, and we'll be promoting the show notes as well as this conversation through our social media outlets, and our YouTube channel at Chat with Leaders is our handle. Our website is chatwithleaders.com. We'll get everything up there and make sure to share that with people. And I hope that it has a great impact and that many people purchase your book and take it to heart, because it really is meaningful and they're great principles during and post-COVID, and really at any time of life to apply into your sales and leadership career. So Clancy, thank you for your gift of time, your wisdom. It was an honor to have you on the show today.
Thank you for having me, Jeff. Real pleasure. Just wonderful, stimulating conversation. And again, thank you so much for having me.